Well, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Meet the Author. Today, I have AJ Starling with me. Thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I have to tell you, full disclosure here, and my friend can swear to this because I've been bugging her about it and she laughs about it every time because I have been when Podium told me about this interview, I was like, what if is there a mistake because you interview like bestsellers, all these people who have so many books published, and I kept thinking, is there somebody with a name like JB Sterling or something? And you're going to expect me to talk about like, I don't know, orc romance, paranormal stuff, shift shifters, and
We're talking about F1 drivers today, and
yeah,
I'm
okay,
excited.
okay, that I can talk about. Okay.
So excited. Yes, no, I was so thrilled when they originally reached out to me and they're like, hey, we have this author, thinking about, right, they're just writing F1 romance, would you be interested? And I was like, yeah, I'm interested. Let's do
Well,
it.
thank you so much for having me because like Frida McFadden, I'll just say that. Those two words. Thank you
She was
for
one of
having
my very first author interviews actually on here.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
she's so
Wow.
sweet. She's super awesome. I had just started launching this, and she I think was like my third or fourth interview. I reached out to her thinking like, oh, there's probably no way she'll respond. She emailed me back in 10 minutes, and she was like, "What day do you want to do it?" She was so
Oh,
awesome.
oh, that's a lovely story. That's nice.
She's a really sweet person. But we're going to talk about you today because it is Meet the Author, and everyone obviously wants to know about you. Obviously, we'll jump into the fact that your newest book is out today. We're recording this on June 5th, June 10th. I don't even know what day it is.
June 10th. I normally wouldn't, except this date has been drilled into my head for some time. It's June 10th.
We're recording this on June 10th. It's probably going to be uploaded on June 11th the next day. So the book is out. Okay. Everyone can go read Checkered Hearts. Kind of really quickly for anyone who maybe this is their first introduction to you, give a quick rundown of this book and what kind of expect. We always already tease, that it's an F1 romance, but real quickly, if you had to put it together in like a sentence or two, what would you tell people to expect?
Okay. Formula One, enemies to lovers, rivals to lovers, um, two F1 drivers. The FMC is coming on to the F1C, leveling up from F3. Um, they're going to be they're going to have to be teammates, and they have a history of a social media kind of war between them. So they don't like each other, they
They've been
really.
messy on social media, to put it
Oh
lightly.
yeah. Yeah. Starts out with some of their posts. You get the feel for them going back and forth. Um, and and they have checkered past, checkered flags. They have checkered pasts, both of them. In particular, Nico, the girl. It's Nico and Rocco. But you know how it is with enemies to lovers. They're fighting, but you can feel like, oh yeah,
There's
that kind of
there's
thing.
immediate attraction, I would say, between them. Like it's pretty quick burn on the attraction. Like that they are hot for each other, but they're like, no, we're rivals, okay? I can't like you. And so then it's like the enemy's plot, and it's a little slow burning until, of course, that perfect moment when the tension breaks.
You captured it perfectly, and early readers have told me this. Yeah, you can, exactly, you could feel, and I meant to write it that way. Exactly, it's like we know, but they don't know, or they won't admit it to themselves. It's
They won't
exactly.
admit it to themselves. They know, but they're like, I can't let myself
Yeah.
go there. And it's like, just let yourself be. It's
But then it would only be like 3 pages, so it can't just be. So you got.
they have to not use their brain for a little bit of time so we can have a good romance plot, and we can see all the
Yeah.
things behind the scenes. And plus, it's really fun too when you start with an enemies rivals to lovers like this, and you can just see how messy these two are. You're like, how are we gonna resolve this? How are we gonna get out of like this mess? Because y'all are starting off kind of crazy.
Well, and you really, that's exactly it. And in particular with this, the rivals to lovers, because they both want to win. They're both
Oh yeah.
really, motivated people. They've been working all their lives for this. And so you're like, well, when one wins, the other lose. How can they work this out where they still want to win, but they want the other to win too, because of how they feel about them. But how's that going to come about? Yeah.
Oh yeah, and especially for Nico, like you said, she gets from F3 to F1, so she's like the only female in F1. So it's like,
Yep.
and in itself, as a female reading, you're like, I want to root for her.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, and I liked. I knew when we first talked about with my agent. I got to give Elaine credit. Elaine Spencer, the night agency. Right. You like to do sports. Write an F1, and she knows. And I love cars. I love cars. I love racing Formula One. I have ever since I was a kid. Write a Formula One romance. People keep telling editors want. It's like okay, and then and immediately my thought was, I know I'm a big fan of Lella Lombardi, famous female Formula One racer back in the 70s, who's the only female racer to earn any points. It's been only five in the whole history of Formula One, five women racers. And I thought, no, there's going to be a woman racer. It's about time. And everybody, and I'm waiting. I'm thinking, gosh, please let me see it in my lifetime. I expect to see a female racer for real, not just in a book. Yeah.
Yeah. Or
I'm
like a movie or something. We need
Yeah.
for real. We need to
Yeah.
wake up usually like in the middle of the night in the US because it's happening somewhere else and get to watch a Formula One race.
Yeah, but when you love it, you do that. You're like you do it. You wake up and you have no trouble waking up because you want to see it. I mean, when you're a real fan.
My husband, when we were in college, his roommate is like one of Isaac, okay, he's never gonna watch this, but Isaac is like one of the biggest Formula One fans ever. But I remember so many times, like my husband, I would be staying over, and his room was the only one downstairs. Everybody else was upstairs, but it would literally be like 3, 4 a.m. and I wake up to hearing vroom, 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 vroom. I was like, what's going on? And I'd like peek my head outside the door, and he's sitting in there on the couch, like he's got a drink and he's watching the race. And I'm like, dude, it's the middle of the night. And he's like, but the race is on.
No, and you can
Dedication.
literally jump out of bed, and I'm a coffee pro. I need my coffee, but it's like the adrenaline rush of this. If you love it, I could do it even without coffee, and that's saying something because I can't do anything else without coffee. So I
That's
get
incredible.
it. I get.
Well, we'll segue really quickly from, the book for a second to you. Obviously, you're talking about you can't do anything out coffee. I want people to know specifically about you. So first, just kind of introduce us to who you are as a human being, obviously, and kind of how did you get into writing?
Okay. Well, I have a day job, as all writers do. I teach. I teach philosophy, and
Cool.
but pardon me.
I said that's really cool.
Yeah, I know. It's always, and the thing, it's funny because how I got into it, when I went to college, I didn't know what I was going to do. I just took some classes and then I took my first philosophy class. I loved it. So I just took it because I loved it. And everybody like was bugging my, what's she going to do with that? What's she going to do with that? And I thought, God, what am I going to do with it? And I was fortunate enough to have a professor, sort of take me and, liked my work. Actually, it's a very funny story because I didn't show up on the last day. And I thought, oh, so I realized this lecture paper was so bad. I didn't show up, and a friend
Oh no.
about the papers, and he talked a lot of my paper. And I go home for the holidays, and I'm looking, and there's all this long letter, and my mother comes over my shoulder. At the end, it says, "Come see me. Here's my office. Even here's my phone number when the term starts." And she said, because I never went to. I'm impressed when students do this because I never did. I was kind of shy. I would not go talk to a professor.
Yeah.
Even if I didn't get something, I would beat my head against the wall. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. I don't know. I was so or whatever. But so my mother makes me. So she says, "You're going to see him," and I said, "Yes, okay, I'll go to see him." And I can't. If I tell my mother I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And so when the term starts, I walk down the hall. And it's like going to the gallows or whatever. And then I get a reprieve from the governor because I look in and he's not there. And I think, escape. I can still tell my mother I went. I turn around, run smack into him.
Oh no.
and then I just, oh God, the conversation. He was saying stuff, and I started saying, oh yeah, I took that class, and then he's talking, oh yeah, philosophy of science with, and I said, what? Oh no, I didn't take that class. It was like some sort of crazy. Well, it was a crazy person, but anyways, and that was my, that was my, that's what I never would have pictured getting a graduate degree in that and teaching it, and um, so that's how that came about. But the writing, um, I always liked stories. I loved to read, and I loved stories. I even remember when I was in preschool, and they had, then they'd have this nap time. We'd have our apple juice, and then they'd have nap time, and I could never nap, and so I'd just sit there and make up stories in my head. I wouldn't write anything down, obviously I couldn't, but then, but I just always liked, being in stories, and so I, you know, I
Do
I'm
you
trying to.
remember the first time you like had these stories that you had been making up in your head, from a young age, and you actually decided to write one down?
Yeah, when did I actually start writing them down? That's a good, not doing anything with them really, but because you couldn't really. Um, that's a good, I think, because I'm trying to think. I think it was probably, I mean, they were lame, okay, but like 8 years old or something. I started writing little things. Yeah.
That's still awesome though that you decided to actually write it down. A lot of people would think about something, but they wouldn't actually take the time to write it down. Or, they wouldn't have it up. They'd be like, oh, that's cool, whatever. But especially when you're like 8, you're like, I'm going to go run outside again or something, or I'm going to go do whatever. The time that for an 8-year-old to take it to actually write something down just goes to show like you were actually really invested in these stories already.
Yeah, I would do. I mean, it's, well, like, people you've had on your show, authors out there, all that they could, I know they can relate to this. You do it even if you can't get it published. Hopefully that's not the case, but it's hard. It's hard. Um, but you do it because you can't not do it, you know? I remember, I think it's Aldous Huxley said, he had a great answer when somebody asked him, why do you write? And he said, because I feel sick if I don't. And I thought, that's a really good answer. But then I thought, yeah, but I kind of feel sick when I do, because sometimes I get like, oh God, this is terrible. And that, but then I realized, okay, I feel sick if I do, but I feel more sick if I don't. So my reason for writing is to feel less sick, not more sick.
Well, and everyone's always their own.
Seriously, there's something that happens if I don't write for a few. I can't always, their own, yeah, you kind of went out, but worst critic. Yeah, no, this is true. This is true. In fact, my mother would always say, even with my,
You're always your worst critic,
I
like
know,
people, if you don't write, you're like, okay, worried about it. But then if you do, you're gonna always think, okay, this is not good, this is not good. I mean, even so many people, I'm sure some of the biggest, like the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I'm sure that there were so many times that there was like, I don't know if I like this, I don't know if it's not that good. Like now look at it.
I know, like some of the greatest literature of all time, that authors were. I'm sure even Jane Austen was doing this. No, there's no doubt. Yeah. You do. Gosh, that's why it takes it does take, you got to love it. Well, I shouldn't say, I can't speak for other people, but for me, because, why would you spend time? I mean, my friends would be out, my family would be, I mean, why would I spend, hold up in a little, room or apartment? No, 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 writing something that you don't even know that anybody will ever read. But I could not do it. Yeah. So something, even through the doubt and everything.
Hmm.
Sometimes I think it's, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's my brain's way of trying to make sense of things. 'Cause since I really can't make, there's so many questions about, that's why I love philosophy, because I'm all about the questions. I'm like, I don't come
Uh-huh.
with answers, but, and of course with the romance, it's, it work, at the end, it works out the way I'd want it to work out.
It's definitely a good feeling. I feel like
I was
going back
super
to,
critical and my agent, the minute I would hear something, I got a little hesitation there. Okay, back. But I was going to say, in terms of
No,
being
you're
hyper,
good.
in terms of hypercritical, I was like, oh no, this is awful. Oh no, is this going to be terrible? I'm going to get and then you're like listening to the audio. I think, oh no, is this the way, because I was first thinking, is this the way I heard it in my head? And then it's so funny. I heard it again and and I'm thinking, what's wrong with my brain? Cause it's like really, really good. But it's funny how I guess it's worried about doing any little thing that's wrong, and like the straw that breaks the camel's back or something. Uh, the this is so I'm just so happy and grateful, and I don't want to lose this. Like I want to write more books, and because trust me, rejections. People talk about you could paper your apartment, a wall, one room with. I could probably paper my whole house with rejections, from
But it's
agents and
the
whatnot.
one, it just takes one yes and all the other rejections fade away because the one yes gets you in front of people, and then you get to start having
Yep.
readers, and then you get to start seeing people experiencing your book like you got to experience your book. And every single one of those rejections, it doesn't matter, and then they start to be like, oh, this, like, I actually should have taken a chance here. And then they start to, you make them second guess themselves, and that's always kind of the best feeling. It's like, oh, you rejected me, well, now look at me. Look what I'm doing now.
And if you don't put it out there, you ask, then the answer is already no. So you might still,
My
and
boss says
it does
something
just take.
my boss says something kind of like along those lines. He's like, don't let imposter syndrome, he's like, don't let imposter syndrome get in the way of like you doing something, following your dream, putting something out there. And he's always like, and then sometimes it's true for authors too, he's always says, don't let, this sounds really bad, but like, don't let great be in the way of like good enough. Like, put yourself, finish the first draft. Don't let, oh my gosh, it has to be great this first time. Like, get it done, and then you can go back and you can always fix it. But don't, like, in your head always be like, oh, it
There's
has to
that
be this,
same.
it has to be perfect the first time. Like, it doesn't have to be.
Yep. You're absolutely. He's absolutely right, because don't let the don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, because you just won't get anywhere. And I have to say, and this is you too, I have to say, it's just like that professor and my agent and Podium, you know, um, you, so grateful, that somebody, because so many wouldn't, that somebody would take a chance. And I just wish, I hope people know this, like the people who give you a chance, and that's including even you. You won't. I know I won't. To the end of my days, I'll net them. Because you can make such a difference in somebody's life. No, I'm serious. You can make such a difference. I mean, it's a huge. This is like a dream come true for me, and that's because my agent. That's because of Podium. Now you are included. So it's
It
it's
makes me,
cool that
I'm like
people
such
can
a
do that.
small part in this line of people to thank, but like, I'm excited that you're here today. And I'm so happy that we're getting to talk about, again, F1 romance. I feel like it's starting to get a little bit bigger. Like, we're starting to have more, but it's still so, like, a market that there's not a ton of books. So like, it's so exciting that people have the opportunity to read the story, and it's a chance that like maybe they don't even know about like F1 itself yet, but then they read your story and they're like, wait, like maybe I actually want to watch, F1. And now it's like perfect timing too with the F1 movie coming out in like 2 weeks. Like, people can kind of put them together and be like, okay, this is fun.
Oh God, Brad Pitt. And you know what, ladies out there, all I'm gonna say, Carlos Sanz. I'm just saying, and he's not the only one. You just watch
There's some
one.
good looking
These
F1 drivers.
drivers are incredibly hot, you know? Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a reason why there's a lot of female F1 fans. We'll just put it out there.
Absolutely. Look at the success of Driven to Survive. We get it. I won. I'm guilty.
I love that so much. Really quickly, kind of talking about like just again you as a writer itself. What is your writing process like? Like, when you first have an idea in your head, maybe again like it was for this one. Walk me through. Okay, I have this idea to now, like today, your book's published, it's out there. What is that process like for you?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. Um, and I know there's this thing, some people are pantsers, they just say their pants, and some people are plotters. And I probably am a hybrid because I kind of, but I definitely start with pantser. I don't start with a whole out
Really?
sort of, I don't know. And now I look back and I think, how did I come up with that? But I have to honestly say, there's a lot of time, me just, there's so much stuff that I wrote that just, got thrown out. But even a bad day when it was, oh no, then it's like I had to do that to get to the next day when I got the good stuff. And what I tend to find, because it's funny, because now I'm working on book two, and I actually got back from the editor, and I have to get it. It's funny. I was telling my best friend about it because I was still so Rocco Nico, Rocco Nico. I love Rocco Nico, from Checkered Hearts, and to appear in Checkered Hearts, but I couldn't, like, they're not. It's not coming. It's not coming, and I was stuck. But I just put in the time, just sitting at my computer, just and even staring at the blank screen and just putting things out there. And then what happens as a result for me, anyways, of putting in the time, eventually what I find is, I think now it looks like it's so. Eventually, what
I can
happens
still
is,
hear you.
yeah, here I am. So eventually, I put in the time. I do this, but when I know when I'm in a good place, and it started to happen, is all of a sudden I'll be washing the dishes, driving in the car, playing with my dog, and they come into my head, and I see, like, they start talking, the two characters, and then I got to go, and that's always a good sign. That's always how it comes for me, because then I know when they start not even in front of the door, then I know it's coming life. And I have to say, even though I still always get a little nervous because it's not going to happen, put in the, I'm sorry, I can see that it's freezing up some. So I don't know what you're catching. I'm sorry if I don't know if my internet connection, I'm here in New York. Um, now,
You're okay. I
now
can hear you. I can hear you.
you're getting it. Okay. Cause it freezes up sometimes. So I don't know if you can probably cut out half of what, you know, I take a time to say, you can cut out half of this and you'll still have a full interview.
No, you're
So,
good. I can hear you. I think it's so cool
and
that
that's
you
fine.
said,
I
like,
get it.
you can hear some of their voices, in your head and stuff like that. And I think it's so cool because, I do interview authors all the time. And that's always like a pivotal moment for people too, is they're like, oh, like the characters are speaking so loud, or like I have a plan for where I want them to go, but then the characters like direct me somewhere else. And I think as like a reader, it's harder.
It's
Like it's really weird. We don't understand that until you're, in that author chair. And then you're like, no, my characters are literally talking to me like I'm doing the smallest task and I'm like thinking about this character, like, no, how would they react to this? What would they say in this situation? And I find that so fascinating every time I do get to do one of these interviews because you guys all kind of say the same thing. Like, yeah, the readers talk to me, they get so loud, like they're kind of in my face about it. Or I had someone recently that, was writing a different series, but then the characters from the old series kept coming back. So she like pivoted and like went back and like added bonus scenes because she was like, I still can't stop thinking about these characters. So I gave some like bonus chapters and stuff. And I think that's so cool just that you have these people that you've created, but that they live within you so much that you get to hear their whole conversations. I think that's fascinating.
I think it's like, and for me, definitely, because I don't have children. I love kids, but frankly, I'm better off having a dog. It's so, I wouldn't, I cannot, well, I have friends who are mothers, and I, that's, to me, seems like the hardest. I mean, really rewarding, but really hard,
Mhm.
hard. I, you know, I'm in awe of it. I don't think I could do it. So, but anyways, so my book, my characters, and I'm sure for those writers too, whether they have, Homo sapien children, they have the book children too. and it's, if you think about having a child, I think the parents, they have that expectation for what their child's going to be like, but the kids, it's a, you know, he, she, they, the own person, so they're going to be who they're going to be, and so
Oh
it's
yeah.
like that. You think you're going to, but then they're like, excuse me, this is what I really think. So just hear, listen up, yeah. I think it, to me, it's like that. So it's true
I
to
think that's
life.
I think that's like the best examples anyone's been able to, ever give. Same thing, you raise and you pour and you pour and you like have all these thoughts in your head, but then your kids are still gonna do what they want because they're their own person.
Yeah, I'm sure any parent could say, I know I surprised my parents, I mean, and I know I did. And, and I'm sure every parent, but I would think but that's,
That's exciting. It's
yeah,
nice.
exactly. Thank you. Because it's like, what, you want to know how everything's going to go? I mean, that's the mystery of it. And it is exciting, you know?
I
So
love that.
it's a
What's
good
it
thing.
like for you right now, knowing okay that this book is out again, Checkered Hearts is out now, but you're already working on book two? Is there anything that you can tease or that you'd want to give readers if they're watching this and they're like, oh, okay, like I have the next book, like already it's in the works? Anything that you could tease that you're allowed to say?
Well, I can tell you, I feel sick to my stomach. Nerves. But what I can say, okay, is this book two, the main characters are Cece and Clark, Cece Rivers and Sir Leo Clark, and they appear just a little in
Hmm.
book one. Cece Rivers was an F3 driver. She's
Hmm.
now team principal for, it's again rivals to lovers because they're on opposing teams. So Cece Rivers
Oh.
is team principal for one team, and Leo Clark is this, he's like Rocco, multiple
Hmm.
championships, but he's struggling for another team. And Cece Rivers is team principal for the team that Ian Anchor drives for, and Ian Anchor is Clark's like chief nemesis on the track. So
Oh
again,
no.
it's like, yeah, and it's a little I mean, there's a fake dating trope in this one. It's enemies to lovers, rivals to lovers, but there's a fake dating trope with this one. Yeah.
I love a good fake dating trope.
I
I
know, it
love a
was
good fake
fun.
dating.
I didn't know if I could do it, but I like them, and it's a forced proximity. So I've really been having fun with it. Yeah.
See, you're not, you say you're sick to your stomach, but then you're getting giddy about it and talking about it.
I
You're having a good
know.
time. You're having a good
I
time.
was gonna, I don't know what I can say, but I was gonna say, I know I'm full of insert four-letter words. I don't know what I won't say. I mean, I'm full of, the expression. Because I know, then you tell me that, and I'm like, yeah, why do I say that? I don't know. I'm a messy person. I think.
It's okay because then sometimes you get some messy real characters, and that's real life. No character, no human being is picture perfect, so we like it. It makes our characters real.
That. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I like it. I like it. Well, kind of as we're wrapping things up for today, first, where can people both best connect with you if they are like, okay, I like her energy. I want to read this book. I want to stay involved. Newsletters, socials, those kinds of things. Where can people best get connected to you?
Well, I Instagram and TikTok. I'll admit I'm just getting the feel for. Well, I've been on both. I do. You know what? When I post, to be perfectly, whatever I post on Instagram, then I post on TikTok. So so there it is. Um, but I'm just now, somebody's making a website for me, so it's not finished, but I think it will be finished in the near future. Like, we're talking a couple, certainly before the month's out. We're talking a couple weeks or so.
Okay.
And then I will put that on Instagram and that. And I mean, I have bonus chapters from Checkered Hearts that I want to post there, and um, a newsletter. And here's the thing, which I want to do, but I know me too. You won't. Some people are so good about that. They're sending. You won't get bombarded with that because I have trouble juggling stuff. So, like, I don't know, once a month. Hopefully I'll have something interesting to say. But yeah, I really do. I'm excited about the website, but that's in the works. But I'll let people know on Instagram and TikTok once it's up. Of course, I hope people go visit it. It'll be fun.
Perfect. Yes,
For
we'll
me,
have to be.
anyways, it'll be fun.
It'll be fun for everybody else. We'll be keeping a close eye on your Instagram, on your TikTok, watching, the repurpose stuff on TikTok, all the fun things. And then we'll be able to get on the website once the website's launched and ready to go.
And I promise you this one thing. Okay, that's a good. You just made me think of something. The website will not be a repurpose of Instagram and TikTok. So there'll be something different there.
Something new, something exciting,
Something
something to
new.
look forward to. And then you'll find something once a month in the newsletters that's also exciting. So you want to be everywhere. You want to get involved everywhere.
Right. I want to be like, well, this is funky here, but quantum mechanics, quanta. It's like it would be great because I could be here now giving an interview. I could be in an alternate universe. You could be
Oh,
in an
yeah.
alternate universe giving Frida McFadden at the same time you're doing me. Quanta, you could be everywhere. So I'm
Everywhere
going
at
to
once.
try to be like Quanta. Yeah. Okay.
I wish I could do that because with my job being a meteorologist, I would be sleeping while I'm also at work. So then when I'm done at work, I could just be back in bed and I could not be as tired when I sleep 2 hours. It would be really beneficial. Unfortunately, that doesn't exist. But if it was something that I could actively do every day, I would just constantly be resting my body in bed while I do other things.
Oh, me too. Resting my bed, eating chocolate, and
Maybe I'd have another one of me, constantly reading, so I can just never stop reading, and have one of me just going out and sampling food in restaurant places.
Exactly. And I'm thinking, because I love food so much, one of me could be eating, the other one could be extra running marathons and that, so I could eat all the food and I wouldn't gain the weight. It'd be
There we go.
perfect world.
Perfect.
I
We just need.
know we want this world. Maybe one day.
And then final question, really fast, just for again readers who are on here. Where now that Checkered Hearts is live, where can they find the book?
Okay, well, Amazon, of course. Podium is publishing it. I'm actually, after I finish this interview with you, I'm like I said, I'm in New York. I live on the West Coast in California, but I'm here with my best friend in New York, and we're headed down Bodice.
That's
I'm going to
exciting.
sign the copies there, and if you're in, yeah, I know. It's the ripped bodice. I'm like, woo! They'll be like, Emily. I don't know. There'll be these books that like my book will be there with all these other people that I've been reading, and it's amazing. And in Boston, I'm going to be going tomorrow and signing copies at Trident Bookstore and Lovestruck Bookstore in Harvard Square. So, but that right now, in terms of physical bookstores, that's all I know of. Although my friend, actually, there's one in Minneapolis. Now I can't remember. My friend, this is Bestie Bonnie. This is the kind of girl she is. She's visiting her daughter. She wanders into an all romance bookstore. She just happens upon it, walks in, starts has my book in her hand,
Mm-hmm.
and she starts talking with the person there. And as somebody who works there loves Formula One, and she's like talking about it, showing, and then well, who's distributing it? And then she says, well, a Podium. Oh yeah, we'll call them. So some bookstore, I got to go to Minneapolis. I've never been to Minneapolis. Have you ever been to Minneapolis?
I have been to Minneapolis. I've been like in the heart with the Mall of America and everything twice, because when I was growing up, I played competitive volleyball, and so they had the nationals every year for the end if you made it to qualify there. And so I got to go 2 times, and the Mall of America was crazy the first time I went. 6 stories, I think. It has the theme park in the middle. There's roller coasters and water slides and stuff like that. It was crazy.
Gosh, you must be tall and fit. Yeah, nobody messes with you then.
I'm
You're serious.
5'8".
You're a serious athlete. You're very
I'm
fit.
5'8". I don't know if that's that tall. I'm not crazy tall. I wish I would have been taller. I probably could have done more in college. I stopped playing in high school, but I did it from 6th grade all the way until 12th grade. So played volleyball for a while, but I'm not crazy tall, I don't think.
I would play volleyball on the beach, and just for fun, I sucked. I was no good at it, but I had fun anyways.
Beach volleyball is always the best time to just relax and hang out. Most people aren't good at it, but you're just there to have a good time.
Yeah, you have a good time. You don't just have to lie down. You get the tan anyways. you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. I had so much fun chatting with you.
I did too. Thank you. I'm so I was nervous. This was fun.
I'm
I hope
glad.
I got to I hope, in the future, my next because this was so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there
I would do
anything that
this
I
anytime.
didn't ask you today or that we didn't talk about that you want to mention really quickly before you jump off?
I well, right now I'm stymied. I can't think of anything. I know I mentioned book two. I just a great thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you to all the people. You know, people who read the book who already. It's amazing to me. Already posted things on Instagram and TikTok that we and they post. I don't know how they do this. These reels, these I mean, they're like perfect. All these images and I and the conversations I've had with these people. I'm really grateful. I must admit, it's excited. I I mean, it's a thrill and it's a dream, but it's again surprises like we were talking about with children because I didn't picture this exactly like this kind of
Mhm.
thing, like the conversations with the like, oh, now maybe I have people who like me or fans or something. You know what I mean? I just didn't. It's I didn't picture that, and it's like wow, it's very cool.
I love
Yeah.
that. I'm
So
so glad
thank
and
you.
so special. And I hope you enjoy the heck out of this release week and that you are filled with so much love from people at bookstores and you get to do all the signings and you get more reviews coming in that it just makes your heart all warm and fuzzy because that's what release week is all about.
Yay. Thank you.
Absolutely. And you guys make sure that you're staying up to date with everything that's happening here at Michaela's Book Nook, either here on YouTube or on my TikTok, on my Instagram. It's all the same handle. And as always, we'll be back for more book reviews and author interviews and more. Bye, everyone.